humanity's greatest need is to express his imagination, and his greatest power is his imagination. I have a need to understand and to experience ancient history, ancient past of mankind, whether it's out of some sort of understanding of why there's so much war and hatred in the world, why no one really can evolve out of this cycle. So mainly my work is trying to work with these feelings, questions, and I use abstract painting, collage, tapestries, and cloth. You know, the ancient Chinese stated what art is. There are different levels, 4 levels. The bottom level is the peasant. He paints by rote, imitation, and it lasts for generations and generations. There's no deviation. The second level is those who must paint for the king or the courts to satisfy what they want, to sell, and today you can call it entertainment. And the third level is where most of us are. We're struggling, we're using our intellect. It's the use of trying to go beyond what we're doing. We're trying to grasp a little bit of the spirit into your work. And the top level, the very top, is the master. He's the one, or she is the one, that can grasp the spiritual and put it into their work. And I know the Japanese term is called chi, or they feel it. They walk up to a work of art and they can almost feel the energy. And we're all striving to reach that level. Today there's a lot of entertainment and shallowness, but the artist, the painter, will always be there in his studio working. The one who has integrity and who sees and has the vision is not fooled. They're working quietly in their studios. And their work will outlast them. They'll outlast all of this. That's why they are not unconcerned.
I don't think people realize how anxiety-provoking it can be to be a painter. I think people have an idea about how a painter just comes to New York and gets their loft and they're just an artist now and they're ready to go, and that is so far removed from the truth of the matter. So there's that anxiety about just survival on the outside, and then there's the internal anxiety about how deep you're willing to go within yourself, how much you're willing to reveal, the dark areas inside yourself that you're willing to put out there for everybody to see.
Some of the works that I see today do not start with any type of process. The process is the idea and the end. Right. That is the whole process.
I think my paintings have a kind of precariousness about them, that you feel something is about to float away, but something is holding it down. So they exist in this constant state of ambiguity or precariousness. To me, that moment of being between 2 points is a moment when something new could happen. And I like to keep myself in that frame of mind when I'm in the studio, when I'm painting. It's something that I feel physically. I feel my body changes when the painting arrives at that stage. But I try to get to that stage from the very beginning, which is another thing that Frank taught me. I think a lot of my students, for example, think they can just put any old thing up there and then they'll fix it later. But it doesn't work that way. It's a kind of dedication that you have to painting. From the very beginning, you have a ritual to get into it, and then you approach the painting. You have to be very clear from the very beginning, even if you're just making a gesture or a stroke, or just feeling the way your body comes to bear on the surface, which is very important, especially in this type of painting.
The eye doesn't want to do anything. It wants to go to sleep. So the painters will find ways to make the eye go up. And he does it by using the rake, using the trees, using the dots of color. and expanding the space by opening the branches. So actually, the forms here are larger than the forms at the bottom.
All the basic needs of a painting have not changed in over thousands of years. And they have been driven from all the way from Egypt through Greece, right through Europe, and eventually into Paul Cézanne, which was reinterpreted by Picasso and Braque, and then eventually flooded into the United States, taken up by other painters. If you want to develop an interesting piece of work, it takes much more than the application, texture, or technique of color. For example, the painting that we had filmed is a painting of the Celtic series, which I call Songs My Ancestors Sang, which comes from the depth of the Celtic history, which runs all over Spain, France, and most of Europe, and ended up in places like Wales, Scotland, Ireland, Brittany. This Celtic strength and trend is almost like a thread to the bad and good of the human nature, the brutality and the joy. And I find the fears and the needs in things like Avebury and Carnac and the Standing Stones in Ireland. All of these tell us of what we as people today still need. We all live and dwell in the unknown. In other words, for me, a complete painting has all aspects, hard and soft, thin and thick, transparent and opaque, just like life. It's not an even path.
A singular idea and scale it up. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I go through a process of a lot of little works to get to the big one. It is not very often that I can go directly to the painting. Usually, I am working from a watercolor or a drawing or a smaller painting, or I found something when I was doodling around that gives me my initiative. But I always have some sort of base idea. This. Now, what you're doing is you're twixting your memory, and you're looking for anything that will possibly awaken a notion. Sometimes it's color on color. Sometimes it's a shape against a shape. Now, I may work like months on one of these stupid things in order to increase my ability to see, to look basically beyond the moment. And anything will do.
See, it's very important to you to allow space between those shapes.
That's right. I want to know what's going to happen in these negative, positive elements, and can the negative become the positive? Now, this was at my feet, and one day I looked down and said, that's interesting. So here I used parts of the print in order to develop a movement.
People get caught up in technique because that's all they can rely on. You have to understand that we live with the idea of cognitive psychology. So when you're creating a new reality, which is basically what a painting is, that's more than most people can deal with, because they don't want to give it time. They want things to be instant. That's the nature of this period. Reality is that each painter that's worth a damn will always kind of follow their own voice, no matter what the trends are. As long as you can keep universal principles in the painting, you'll survive. Because I separate the issue of myself from the painting. The painting is what's important. Flesh comes and goes. Painting is here. We have paintings, we don't even know who the hell did them. And they're affecting people. People can enjoy them. People can find good questions in them. And that's what it's all about.
Our whole need on this planet is to embrace life. When I go out into the world and see great art, it keeps me alive. It gives me purpose. When I walk in nature and feel the wind and see the sun and hear the ocean as it hits the rocks, it's like music to my soul. It gives me everything I need.